continuous design of reinforced concrete structures. In this lecture, we are going to solve a problem on continuous slab. So the question given here is, design a reinforced concrete slab for a hall measuring 8 meter by 16 meter. So here what he is asking to design a slab for a hall. So, and what are the measurements of the hall? It is 8 meters by 16 meters. The slab is supported on RCC beams 250 mm wide and spaced at 4 meters center to center. So, what the slab for the hall, it is what? It is supported on beams. So, what are the width of the beams? The width of the beams are being 250 mm and the beams are spaced, that is the slab is in between the beams. The center to center distance is 4 meters. The superimposed load is 4 kilonewton per meter square. That is the live load which is acting on the slab is given. It is 4 kilonewton per meter square. Used M20 grade concrete and Fe415 steel. So the grade of the concrete is given as M20 and the grade of the steel is given as Fe415. And the bearing of beams is 200 mm. That is what the support width. That is the width of the supports is given here as 200 mm. So what from this particular question what you can understand that this is a continuous beam because the total hall 8 meter by 16 meter hall, it is spaced between beams, supporting between beams which are spaced at 4 meters center to center. So from this what we can say that we have to design for a continuous slab. Now let us see whether the slab is a one-way continuous slab or a two-way slab. So now let us find out first whether the slab is a one-way slab or a two-way slab. So how we will find out if it is a one-way slab or a two-way slab? By Ly by Lx ratio. If the Ly by Lx ratio is greater than or equal to 2, then it will be a one-way slab, and if the Ly by Lx ratio is less than 2, then it will be a two-way slab. So Ly is nothing but the longer span and Lx will be the shorter span. So from this particular question, Ly is what? Ly is the longer span which is 16 meters by Lx. Lx is the shorter span which is 8 meters. So what is the value we got here? It is 2. That is the Ly by Lx is 2. So if Ly by Lx is greater than or equal to, then what you have to design the slab for a one-way slab. So as the value is 2, we have to design the slab for a one-way slab. So the slab has to be designed for a one-way slab. So the same procedure we are going to follow. So what is the step 1 what we have to do for designing a one-way slab? The step 1 is we have to calculate the depth of the slab. So first let us calculate the depth of the slab. So how will we calculate the depth of the slab? So first let us calculate the effective depth. So the effective depth is generally calculated from IS 456-2000 which you have already learned in your previous lectures by the span to depth ratios. So in IS 456-2000 the different spans to depth ratios for different kinds of slabs are given. For simply supported slabs, for cantilever slabs and for continuous slabs, the span by depth ratios are already mentioned. So those span to depth ratios should be considered, those basic values should be considered, and from that the effective depth has to be calculated. So as per the code, the span to depth ratio for a continuous slab, here what it is, a continuous slab. So for a continuous slab is 20 for spans up to 10 meters, the value of span to depth ratio is 26. So this is going to be our basic value. If based on the percentage of the steel, and the stress levels, the basic value can be modified. How we can modify the basic value? So this basic value should be multiplied with some modification factor. This modification factor we can find out from figure 4 of IS 456 2000. So with the help of this modification factor, the basic value of the span by depth ratio can be modified, and that can be used in calculating the depth of the slab. So if you want, you can use this basic value also for finding out the depth of the slab. But what will happen is you have to make a number of trials. That is, if the checks are not satisfied at the end of the design. So again, right from the starting, you have to modify the depth of the slab and you have to repeat the same procedure. So there will be more number of trials when you will consider the basic value of span to depth ratios. So multiplying it with a modification factor, we can reduce the number of trails. So how will know the modification factor? What should be the value of modification factor? It generally will take based on the experience. So based on the experience, we will know the percentage of steel. What should be the percentage of steel for this particular slab? So based on that, from figure 4, we will find out the modification factor, and we will use that span by depth ratio so that the number of trails can be reduced. So here in this particular problem, I am considering a span by depth ratio of 33. Okay, and from that I am going to calculate the depth of the slab. So here what I am doing is I am going to assume the span by depth ratio as 33. After multiplying it with some modification factor, I got the span to depth ratio as 33. This is what I am going to take. So from this I am going to calculate the depth of the slab. So what will be the depth of the slab? The depth of the slab is span by 33. Okay, so what is the span here? The span here is, see what? The continuous beam, it is in between the beams, the continuous slab is spaced at 4 meters center to center. So the span here is what? The span here is 4 meters, that is 4000. So 4000 divided by 33, the value will get approximately, I can write it down as 120 mm. So here the effective depth, what I am going to take is how much it is? 120 mm. So now what? As I tried, first we have adopted a span by depth ratio as 33, and from that we have calculated the effective depth D, which is we have got approximately as 120 mm. Now what? We have to calculate the overall depth of the slab. So the overall depth of the slab D is what we have to calculate now. So the effective depth D of the slab we have got as how much? It is 120 mm. So the overall depth D, how will calculate? It is the effective depth D plus the clear cover plus the dia of bar divided by 2. The dia of the bar divided by 2. So we have already calculated the effective depth. Now what we have to know? The clear cover and the dia of bar. So for that I am assuming a clear cover of 25 mm, and let us provide the dia of the bar as 10 mm, because mostly in slabs 8 mm, 10 mm and 12 mm diameter bars are used as the reinforcement. So here I am going to provide a 10 mm diameter bar. So D is 120 mm plus I am assuming a clear cover of 25 mm plus the diameter of the bar, and consider it as 10 divided by 2. It will be 120 plus 25 plus 5. Total is 150 mm. So the overall depth of the slab is D is 150 mm. So in the first step we have calculated the effective depth and the overall depth of the slab. Effective depth being 120 mm and the overall depth of the slab being 150 mm. So after calculating the effective depth of the slab, what is the next step? The second step is to calculate the effective span of the slab. Now let us calculate the effective span of the slab. Step 2. Effective span of the slab. So to calculate the effective span of the slab, first we have to calculate the clear span of the slab. So first let us calculate the clear span. So what will be the clear span for suppose if these two are the supports and this is our slab, okay. The clear span is the distance between these two. So this is going to be a clear span. This is going to be a clear span. Now what we have to calculate this clear span. But what is the distance we know? We know the distance from center to center of the support, which is given as 4 meters. That is, this distance is being 4 meters. But we need this distance. So we will calculate this distance. 4 meters minus the distance of half of the support minus the distance of half of the support will give you a clear span. So the clear span will be 4 meters is 4000 mm minus, this is nothing but the support width distance, is it or not? So support width divided by 2 because half of this minus the support width divided by 2 because the half of this. So from total 4, if we will remove this and this, we are going to get the clear span. So 4000 minus, what is the support width? In the question it is already given, the bearing of beams is 200 mm. That is the support width is given as 200 mm. This is 200 mm. So 4000 minus 200 divided by 2 minus 200 divided by 2, which will give you 4000 minus 200 is 3800 mm or 3.8 meters. So what is the clear span? The clear span is 3.8 meters. So now what we have calculated the clear span. So how much is the clear span we have got? It is 3.8 meters. 3.8 meters is the clear span what we have got. Now what is the slab we are designing here? We are designing for continuous slab. So as per clause 22.2 point B, if the width of the 1 by 12 of clear span, then the effective span should be taken as per clause 22.2.8. So now what? We have two conditions here. Okay. The two conditions being, one thing is if the width of the supports is less than 1 by 12, okay, of clear span. So first what we have to find out? We have to find out 1 by 12 of clear span. So if that value what we have got, and if the width of the support is less than this value, then what we have to calculate the effective span as per this clause. If the value, that is if the width of the supports is greater than 1 by 12 of clear span, we have another condition what we have to use, which is given in the same clause 22.2. So based on this value, whether the width of the support it is less or if it is greater, we have to find out the effective span. That is, the formulas for calculating the effective span are going to change. So first what we will do? First we will calculate this. That is the value of 1 by 12 of clear span. So what? 1 by 12 into clear span. So what is the clear span? It is 3.8 meters or 3,800. So if you solve this, you will get a value of 316.66 mm. So this is the value for 1 by 12 of clear span. Now what is the condition? If the width of the support. So what is the width of the support? The width of the support is 200 mm. So from this what you can say that the width of the support is less than this value. Is it or not? The value is 316.66 and the width of the support is 200 mm. That is, the width of support is less than half of 1 by 12. Less than 1 by 12 of clear span. So if width of the support is less than 1 by 12 of clear span, then what? By using the equations, by using the formulas which are given in clause 22.2a, we have to calculate the effective span. That is, the effective span should be calculated as per this clause 22.2a. Now, as we have got this condition, so let us calculate the effective span by taking the formulas which are given in clause 22.2a. So as per clause 22.2.a, how we will calculate the effective span? The effective span can be taken as center to center of supports or the clear span plus the effective depth whichever is less. So what we have to calculate? Both this, the center to center distance of the supports as well as the clear span plus the effective depth. So out of these two, which value will be the less? That value should be taken as your effective span of the slab. So first let us calculate the center to center of supports distance. So we will calculate. It is the clear span, that is 3.8 plus the center to center distance. How much it is? 0.20 divided by 2 plus 0.20 divided by 2, which will give you 4 meters. So which we have already known here, that is it has spaced at 4 meters center to center. So that is the distance here, that is center to center of the supports. And the other one is clear span plus the effective depth. So what is the clear span? The clear span is 3.8 meters plus the effective depth. How much is the effective depth? We have already calculated. It is 120 mm. So it is in meters I am converting. It will be 0.12. So total it will be a value of 3.92 meters. Now which value you have to consider as the effective span of the slab? The value whichever is less in this. So 4 meter and 3.92 meter. So 3.92 meter is a lesser value. So the effective span of the slab is how much? It is 3.92 meters. So the effective span is being how much? It is 3.92 meters. So this is how we have to calculate the effective span of the slab. So if the width of the support is greater than 1/12 of the clear span, then we have to use the other formulas which are given in the same clause 22.2. By using those formulas, we have to calculate the effective span of the slab. So now what? We have calculated the depth of the slab and we have calculated the effective span of the slab. So the next step is to calculate the loads acting on the slab. Now the step 3 is to calculate the loads acting on slab. So what will be the loads acting on the slab? One will be the dead load and the other one will be the live load. So dead load is what? Dead load will be the self weight of the slab plus the floor finishings. So first let us calculate the dead load of the slab. So the dead load is self weight of the slab. So the self weight of the slab. How will we calculate the self weight of the slab? That is D into the unit weight of RCC. So what is the depth? That is the overall depth. It is 150 mm. So here I am converting it into meters. So it is 0.15 meters into the unit weight of RCC is 25 kilonewton per meter cube. So if you solve this, you will get a value of 3.75 kilonewton per meter square. This is going to be the self weight of the slab. So in the question, the floor finishings is not given. So here I am assuming a suitable weight for floor finishing. That is, this is going to be a assumed value and taking this value to be 1 kilonewton per meter square. That is, the weight of the floor finishing is 1 kilonewton per meter square. So this also comes under the dead load. So what will be the total dead load? The total dead load will be 4.75 kilonewton per meter square. So the total dead load is 4.75 kilonewton per meter square. Now, what is the other load? It is the live load or the imposed load. So in the question it is already mentioned, that is the superimposed load is 4 kilonewton per meter square. So what is the live load? The live load is 4 kilonewton per meter square. So now what will be the total load? The total load will be dead load plus live load. So it is 8.75 kilonewton per meter square. So this is going to be a total load. So the total load is 8.75 kilonewton per meter square. Now what we have to calculate for 1 meter width of the slab. So for 1 meter width of the slab, what will be my total load? It is 8.75 kilonewton per meter square into 1 meter, which will give you 8.75 kilonewton per meter. So the total load, that is just the total load, is 8.75 kilonewton per meter. But in the design, when we are designing, what we will do? We will multiply the total load with a suitable partial safety factor, and we will consider the design loads. That is nothing but the factored load. So now what we have to do here? We have to find out the factored load. That is, in designing, every time we will consider the factored load itself. So let us find out the factored load. So factored load will be the total load into partial safety factor. So what should be the partial safety factor which is given in IS 456-2000? So as we have only two loads here, that is the dead load and the live load, the partial safety factor is to be taken as 1.5, which we have already discussed in the previous sessions. So that is, the factored load will be 1.5 into 8.75, which is equal to 13.125 kilonewton per meter. So the factored load is being 13.125 kilonewton per meter. Now what we have calculated the factored load. So the next step is to calculate the factored bending moment and factored shear force. So previously for simply supported slabs and all, the simply supported slab, the factored bending moment is calculated by using the equation WL square by 8, and the factored shear force is calculated by WL by 2. Here in a continuous slab, the factored bending moment and factored shear force are calculated based on some coefficients. So the bending moment, the factored bending moment is calculated by WL square into the bending moment coefficients, and the factored shear force is calculated by W into L. Here L is nothing but the effective length, that is the effective span, into the shear force coefficients. So where do you get this bending moment coefficients and shear force coefficients from? So the bending moment coefficients and the shear force coefficients are taken from table 12 and table 13 of IS 456-2000. So from IS 456-2000, from table 12 and table 13, we are going to take the bending moment coefficients and the shear force coefficients. So the table 12 is for bending moment coefficients, and the table 13 is for shear force coefficients for a continuous slab. So based on that, what we have to do? We have to calculate the factored bending moment and the factored shear force. Now first let us draw the slab here. So what? The slab is what? The slab is a continuous slab. So this is a continuous slab, and in the question itself we have already seen 16 meters length, and the center to center distance is 4 meters. That is, the center to center distance of the supports is 4 meters. So the center to center distance of this is 4 meters. The center to center distance of this center to center. Meters center to center. Now what? Now for this particular continuous slab, we are going to calculate the bending moment as well as the shear force. So the bending moment we are going to calculate at the supports as well as at the center of the supports, as well as the shear force we are going to calculate at the supports. So first let us calculate the bending moment coefficients as well as the shear force coefficient. So what we have to take the bending moment coefficients, what we have to take the shear force coefficients for this particular continuous slab as per table 12 and table 13. Now first let us write down the bending moment coefficients. So this is the table 12 of IS 456-2000. In this particular table, the bending moment coefficients are given for the types of the loads. So the loads are being dead load and the imposed load. If the imposed load is fixed, then for a fixed one, the imposed load we have to take these values, and not fixed condition, the imposed load values has to be taken this. And for different types of load, okay, the bending moment coefficients they have given for span moments as well as for the support moments. And in the span moments also, the bending moment coefficients near middle of the end span, at middle of the interior span, the values, the coefficients are being different. And for support moments, at support next to the end support, the values are given here, and at support moments other than the interior supports, at other interior supports, the values are given here. Now let us first draw the continuous slab, then we will know how we have to assign the bending moment coefficients. So previously we have already drawn the continuous slab. So this is our continuous slab. So what are the loads we have? We have the dead loads and live loads. So for the dead load I am going to consider this, and for the live load or the imposed load I am going to consider these values. So the bending moment at this end support will be 0, and at this end support also will be 0, as we know already. So at the support the bending moment is 0. So here it will be 0 and here also it will be 0. So now let us write down the bending moment coefficient separately for dead load as well as the live load, because the coefficients are not same, the coefficients are different for dead load and live load. So dead load and live load. Okay, now here it is 0, the dead load is 0 as well as the live load, everything is 0 here. Okay, so for that simply I have written it as 0, and there it is 0. Now this is one span, isn't it or not? So first let us write down the bending moment coefficients for the span moments. So span moments near middle of end span. So what will be our end spans? This is our end span and this is our end span, isn't it or not? So these are the two end spans. So at middle of the end span, the bending moment coefficient for the dead load is how much? It is 1 by 12 plus 1 by 12. And the imposed load, the bending moment coefficient near the middle of the end span. So this is our end span, and near the middle of the end span, the coefficient is plus 1 by 10. That is for the live load, and this is for the dead load. In the similar way, this is also our end span, is it or not? So here also at the middle of the, near the middle of the end span. So what will be the dead load coefficient? It will be plus 1 by 12, and the live load coefficient will be, bending moment coefficient will be plus 1 by 10. That is at the middle. Okay, at the middle of this and at the middle of this. Now, at middle of interior span. So these are going to be our interior spans, isn't it or not? So if these are our end spans, these are going to be our interior spans. So at the middle of the interior spans, okay, what is the bending moment coefficient for dead load? It is plus 1 by 16. So this will be plus 1 by 16, and the live load, for the imposed load or the live load, the bending moment coefficient is plus 1 by 12. So this is also our interior span only. So at the middle of this interior span also, we will have the same values, which is plus 1 by 16 plus 1 by 12. Now we are calculating the bending moment coefficients at the supports, that is the support moments. Okay, so at support next to the end support. So what is the end support? This is the end support. Okay, the next support end to the support is what? This is the support, isn't it? The support next to this is this one. So here what will be the dead load coefficient? Dead load bending moment coefficient, it is minus 1 by 10. That is, here it is minus 1 by 10, and the imposed load coefficient is minus 1 by 9. And in the similar way, this is our another end support. To this end support, what is the next support? This is being our next support. So here also what? The dead load coefficient will be minus 1 by 10, and the live load bending moment coefficient will be minus 1 by 9. Now, at other interior supports. So at the end, next to the end supports we have done. So what are the other interior supports? This will be our other interior support. So at the other interior support, what is the bending moment coefficient for the dead load? It is minus 1 by 12, and live load bending moment coefficient is minus 1 by 9. So here what? So this is how we have to assign the bending moment coefficients. Now let us assign the shear force coefficients. So in table 13 of IS 456-2000, the shear force coefficients are given. So in the similar way, based on the type of the load and the supports for the dead load and the live load, the shear force coefficients are given. So let us assign the shear force coefficients for the continuous slab here. So this is the dead load and live load. Here it is for the, these are for the bending moment, that is the bending moment coefficient. So here it is 0. So here you can write it down 0, 0. Here also you can write it down as 0 and 0, because here it is 0. Now for the shear force. So the dead load as well as the live load coefficients is what we are going to write down here. So what? First, at end support. So how many end supports we have here? This is one end support and this is the other end support. So at end supports, what is the shear force coefficient? The shear force coefficient is 0.4 for dead load and 0.45 for the live load. So at this support it is 0.4 and 0.45, and here also it will be the same. So for the dead load it will be 0.4 and for the live load it will be 0.45. Now at support next to end support. What is the support next to end support? So this is the support which is next to end support and this is the other support which is next to this end support. So at support next to end support, so there are two things here. One is the outer side and the other one is the inner side. So for the inner side we have other values and for the outer side we have some different values. So now let us write down the values for the shear force coefficients for dead load and live load for the support which is next to the end support. So the outer side. So this is going to be our outer side. So here at the outer side, what is the dead load shear force coefficient? It is 0.6 and the live load coefficient is also 0.6. And in the inner side, here in the inner side it is 0.55 and here it is the live load. For the live load it is 0.6. And in the similar way this will be also the same. So at the outer side, and that is this side, it will be 0.6 and 0.6 and at the inner side it will be 0.55 and this will be 0.6. In the similar way, the next one is at all other interior supports. So at all the interior supports, the dead load and live load coefficients are 0.5 and 0.6. So what are the interior supports here? This is the interior support. So here we'll have the dead load as 0.5, 0.6 and 0.5, 0.6. 0.5, 0.6. So this is how we have written all the shear force as well as the bending moment coefficients for the types of load, the dead load and live load for the continuous slab what we are designing now. So next what we have to calculate, individually we have to calculate the factored bending moment as well as the factored shear force at the supports and as well as the bending moments at the supports as well as at the middle of the span and as well as the shear forces at the supports. So now let us calculate the factored bending moment first. Now we have to calculate the factored bending moment and the factored shear forces at each spans for this particular continuous slab. So what is the formula for, first let us calculate the factored bending moment. So what is the formula for calculating the factored bending moment? It is W into L square into the bending moment coefficient. So W here is nothing but the factored load. So we have different coefficients for the dead load as well as the live load. So here I am not considering the total load. Here I am considering the dead load and the live load. So first W I am considering the dead load. That is 1.5 into dead load into L square. L is here nothing but the effective length into the bending moment coefficient for the dead load. For dead load plus 1.5 into live load into L effective square into the bending moment coefficient for live load. So what? 1.5 into dead load. What is the dead load? It is 4.75. nothing but the effective span, which is 3.92 whole square, into the bending moment coefficient for dead load. What is the bending moment coefficient? Here it is at the center. It is plus 1 by 12 into 1 by 12 plus the 1.5 into live load. That is 1.5 into live load. So what is the live load here? It is 4 into L effective. L effective is 3.9 whole square into the bending moment coefficient for live load. What is the bending moment coefficient for the live load? Here it is 1 by 10 into 1 by 10. So if you solve this, you will get a value of 9.1238. If you solve this, you will get a value of 9.21984. So total you will get a value of 18.35 kilonewton meter. So this is going to be a factored bending moment at the center of the span near the end support. So near the end support at the center of the span, what is the bending moment? The bending moment is 18.35 kilonewton meter. In the similar way, we have to calculate the factored bending moment at different supports as well as at the center of the spans. Now let us see one more example of how to calculate the factored shear force. So let us calculate the factored shear force at the end support. So now let us calculate the factored shear force. So how we calculate the factored shear force? In the similar way, the factored shear force is W into L into the shear force coefficient. So W here is factored load, which is 1.5 into dead load into L effective into the shear force coefficient for dead load plus 1.5 into live load into L effective into shear force coefficient for live load. So this will be 1.5 into dead load. What is the dead load? It is 4.75 into L effective is 3.92 into shear force coefficient at the end support. What is the shear force coefficient for dead load? It is 0.4 into 0.4 plus 1.5 into live load. What is the live load? 4 into L effective. So what is L effective? It is 3.92 into shear force coefficient for the live load at this end support. I am calculating here. So it is 0.45 into 0.45. So if you calculate this, you will get a value of 11.172, and if you solve this, you will get a value of 10.584. So total you will get a value of 21.8 kilonewton. So the shear force at this end support is being 21.8 kilonewtons. So in the similar way, we have to calculate the factored bending moments and the shear force at different sections. So at different sections we have the values, right? So all those values has to be calculated in the same process and they have to be tabulated. So following the process, if we calculate the bending moments and the factored shear force, we are going to get these values at different sections. So here the bending moment is 0, at the midspan it is 18.35, at the support near the end support it is minus 21.2 kilonewton meter. In this way we will get the values for the factored bending moments at different sections. In the similar way, by following the process what we have seen already, calculate the shear force at different sections, and if we'll calculate, we'll get the values. At the end support, the shear force is 21.8, and here we are going to get these values. So like this, what we have to calculate the factored bending moments and the factored shear force at different sections of continuous slab. So after calculating the bending moments and the shear forces, the next step is to find out the minimum depth required for required for finding out the minimum depth required for finding the moment carrying capacity. That is the minimum depth which is required for carrying the moment. Now what we have calculated the bending moments and the shear force, and all the bending moments and the shear force are tabulated in the figure which is shown here. So from this what we can observe, that at the supports the bending moment values in kilonewton meter are negative. That is the negative moment we are having at the supports bending moment, and at the center of the spans we have the positive bending moments, and these are the shear forces. So from this what we can observe? We can observe that the maximum bending moment. So where is the maximum bending moment here? So 21.2 kilonewton meter is the maximum bending moment. So the maximum bending moment occurs at the support next to the end support. So here what? This is the end support. So where is our maximum bending moment? Here is a maximum bending moment. So the maximum bending moment here is what? It is occurring at the support which is next to the end support. In the similar way, here also this is the end support, and next to the end support, at that we are getting the maximum bending moment, which is 21.2 kilonewton meter, which is a negative moment. Now, so from this what we can observe, that the maximum shear force, So where is the maximum shear force here? So 30.87 is the maximum shear force what you can observe here. So where is that maximum shear force occurring? It is occurs at the outer side. Occurs at the outer side of the support next to the end support. So this is our end support and this is the next support, and to the outer side of the next support we have the maximum shear force, which has a value of 30.87 kilonewton. In the similar way this side also. So now we have calculated the bending moment and the shear forces at different sections of the continuous slab, and we have written the maximum bending moment and the maximum shear force. Now what is the next step we have to do? The next step is to calculate the depth required for carrying the maximum bending moment. So let us calculate the depth required for carrying the bending moment. So that is the step 5 is to calculate the required depth. So how will calculate the required depth? By using the equation mu is equal to 0.36 FCK B into XU into D minus 0.42 XU. So here in place of XU we have to substitute XU limit. So what is the grade of steel in the equation? It is given the grade of steel is Fe415. So Fe415 grade of steel, what is XU limit? The XU limit value will be 0.48 D. Here XU will be equal to XU limit. So in place of XU we have to substitute 0.48 D. So mu is equal to 0.36 into FCK. What is FCK? FCK is nothing but the grade of the concrete. So the grade of the concrete is 20 and D. D is what? 1000 mm. So why 1000 mm? Because we are considering designing for the 1 meter width of the slab. So B will be 1000 into XU is 0.48 D minus D minus 0.42 into 0.48 D. So what is the value of mu here? The value of mu will be the maximum bending moment, which is 21.2 kilonewton meter. So here I am substituting that value, which will be 21.2. I am converting it into Newton mm. So 21.2 into 10 to the power of 6 Newton mm. So if you solve this particular equation, we will get the depth, the required depth. The required depth you will get a value as 87.65 mm, which is approximately 88 mm. So what is the required depth for carrying this particular moment mu? That is the maximum bending moment. It is 88 mm. So what is the depth we have previously assumed? The depth what we have provided or previously assumed is 120 mm. So here the required depth is less than what we have provided. So hence it is safe. That is the depth. That is the provided depth is adequate. So we have provided more depth what which is required for carrying the particular bending moment. So for that reason, hence the design what we have done till now is okay. So the provided depth is adequate, hence okay. So in the further calculations we are going to use this particular depth of 120 mm and we will do the remaining calculations. So now what we have calculated the required depth. So after calculating the required depth, what we have to do? We have to calculate the area of steel reinforcement. That is, we have to calculate the area of the main reinforcement as well as the area of the distribution steel. That is the distribution reinforcement also. So first what we will do in the next step, we will calculate the area of the steel reinforcement. That is the area for the main reinforcement. Now the next step is to calculate the area of steel reinforcement. So first here let us calculate the area of steel for the main reinforcement. So previously while solving the one-way slab, what we have, only we have one bending moment. So based on that moment only we used to calculate the AST. But here if we observe, we have bending moments for a continuous slab. We have the bending moments at different sections. So first we are going to calculate the bending moment at different sections. That is, first we are going to calculate the area of steel for different bending moments at different sections. So first let us consider the bending moment at the center of end span. So if we see here, this is our end span and this is also our end span. The bending moments at both the end spans are same. That is, here also it is 18.35 kilonewton meter and here also it is 18.35 kilonewton meter. Now I am considering that particular particular bending moment, I am going to find out the area of the steel for that particular bending moment at the center of the end span. So how will calculate? It is mu is equal to 0.87 Fy into AST into D minus 0.42 into XU. So here XU will be, XU is 0.87 Fy into AST divided by 0.36 FCK into B. So here in place of XU you have to substitute this. So mu is equal to 0.87 Fy into AST into D minus 0.42 into 0.87 Fy into AST divided by 0.36 FCK into B. So here what is the mu I am taking? That is at the moment at the center of the end span. So this is our end span and the moment at this is 18.35 kilonewton meter. So it is 18.35 into 10 to the power of 6 Newton mm is equal to 0.87 into Fy is nothing but the grade of the steel, which is 415 into AST is what we have to calculate now, into D is the effective depth, which is 120 mm minus 0.42 into 0.87 into 415 the grade of steel into AST divided by 0.36 into FCK is 20 into B. Here we are considering for 1 meter. So into 1000 mm. So if you solve this particular equation, you will get a value of AST as 461 mm square. So what is the area of steel required for carrying this particular bending moment mu? It is 461 mm square. So after calculating the area of steel, what we have to do? We have to calculate the spacing required. So let us calculate the spacing. So how spacing can be calculated? Spacing can be calculated by using the formula S is equal to L into small AST divided by capital AST. So all these formulas you have learned in your previous sessions already. So L here is nothing but the length that is considered for one meter, that is 1000 into area small AST. AST is nothing but the area of steel for 1 bar. So here what it is pi d square, area is pi d square by 4. So what will take the diameter of the bar? So generally for main reinforcement the dia of the bars are taken as 8 mm, 10 mm and 12 mm. So here I am providing 10 mm diameter bars. So pi into 10 whole square divided by 4 whole divided by the AST. AST is nothing but the AST what it is required here. It is 461 mm square. So if you solve this, you get a value of 170.36 mm. So the spacing required is S is equal to 170.36 mm. So now what? Now provide. So let us provide 10 mm dia bars at 160 mm center to center. So either you can take 170 mm also. Here I have taken 160 mm center to center. So here what? Where we are providing these bars at the end supports. Here and here we are going to provide 160 mm bars center to center. Now what we have calculated the area of steel required for the bending moment at the center of the end span. Now let us calculate the area of steel required for the bending moment which is at the center of the intermediate span. So this is going to be our end span, this will be our end span. So then what are these spans? These spans are the intermediate spans. So at the center of the intermediate span, what is the bending moment it is 14.53 kilonewton meter, and here also it is same, that is 14.53 kilonewton meter. Now let us calculate the area of steel required for the bending moment at the center of intermediate span. So these are our intermediate spans. So at the intermediate spans, at the center, what is the bending moment? It is 14.53 kilonewton meter. So for this particular bending moment, now we are going to calculate the area of steel. So I will calculate using the same equation. MU is equal to 0.87 Fy into AST into B minus 0.42 into XU. XU here will be 0.87 Fy into AST divided by 0.36 FCK into B. So what is MU here? MU is 14.53 into 10 to the power of 6 Newton mm is equal to 0.87 into Fy will be 415 into AST into D. D here is how much it is? 120 minus 0.42 into 0.87 into F1 is Fy is 415 into AST divided by 0.36. FCK is 20 and B here will be 1000. So now if you solve this, you will get a value of area of steel AST as 358 mm square. So this is the required AST for carrying the particular bending moment 14.53 kilonewton meter, which is at the center of the intermediate span. Now what? After calculating the AST, what we have to do? We have to calculate the spacing. So I will calculate the spacing. Here also I am providing 10 mm dia bars. So providing 10 mm diameter bars, S will be L into small AST divided by capital AST. So L will be as usual 1000 mm into the area of steel, that is for 1 bar, that is small AST is area of steel for 1 bar, that is pi into D square by 4. So D here I am assuming it as I am providing 10 mm dia bar, so pi into 10 square divided by 4 whole divided by the AST. So here the AST is 358 mm square. So if you solve this, you will get a value of spacing as 219.38 mm. So this is going to be a spacing required for the area of steel 358 mm square, and the bars being used are 10 mm diameter. Now what? All the positive bending moments, based on that we have calculated the area of steel. Now let us calculate the area of steel at the supports. Now let us calculate the AST required for the bending moment at the supports. So if we see here, so these are the supports. So now let us find out first the AST required for the bending moment at the supports which is near to the end support or which is next to the end support. If we see, this is our end support and this is being our end support. So what is the support which is next to the end support? So this is the support which is next to the end support and this is being the support which is next to the end support. So if you observe, both the bending moments are same here, which is a negative moment 21.2 kilonewton meter. So we are calculating the AST required at the for the bending moment at the supports next to the end support. That is here I consider the bending moment as 21.2 kilonewton meter. So find out the AST. The similar way, the same equation. MU is equal to 0.87 Fy into AST into D minus 0.42 into XU. XU here is 0.87 Fy into AST divided by 0.36 FCK into B. So MA is how much it is? 21.2 into 10 to the power of 6 Newton mm is equal to 0.87 into 415 into AST into D. D here is 120 mm minus 0.42 into 0.87 into 415 into AST divided by 0.36 into FCK is 20 and B is 1000. So if you solve this, you will get a value of AST as 540.6 mm square. So this is the required area of steel for carrying that particular bending moment of 21.2 kilonewton meter. So now what is the next thing we have to do? We have to calculate the spacing. So how will we calculate the spacing? So here also we provide 10 mm dia bars. So S will be L into small AST divided by capital AST. L is 1000 into small AST will be pi into D square by 4, which is D here is 10. 4 whole divided by the AST here is how much? 540.6 mm square. So if you solve this, you will get a value of S as 145.28 mm. So now this is going to be our AST, which is 540.6 mm square, and the spacing required is 145.28 mm center to center. Now what? We have calculated the AST required at the center of the end supports as well as the centers of the intermediate supports, and we have calculated the AST required at the supports, this support and this supports which are next to the end support. Now what is left out? The intermediate support is left out here. So now we have to calculate the AST for the bending moment at the intermediate support. Now let us calculate the area of steel required at the middle support for the bending moment of 19.37 kilonewton meter, which is a negative moment. So what is the moment here? It is 13.37 kilonewton meter. Now what we are considering at the middle support. So we will calculate using the equation MU is equal to 0.87 Fy into AST into D minus 0.42 into 0.87 into Fy into AST divided by 0.36 into FCK into B. So MU is how much it is? 19.37 into 10 to the power of 6 will be equal to 0.87 into Fy is 415 into AST into D is 120 minus 0.42 into 0.87 into Fy is 415 into AST divided by 0.36 into FCK is 20 into B here is 1000 mm. So if you solve this, you get a value of AST as 490 mm square. And so the area of steel required for carrying this particular bending moment is 490 mm square. Now what we have to calculate next? We have to calculate the spacing. So the spacing as can be calculated by L into small AST divided by capital AST. So here also provide 10 mm dia bars. So L will be 1000 into small AST will be pi into 10 whole square divided by 4 whole divided by the AST which is 490 mm square. So with that you will get a value of spacing 160.2. So the spacing here is how much? It is 160.2 mm. Now what we have calculated all the area of steels for all the bending moments and the spacing is also calculated. Now let us write down all the area of steels for the different bending moments, and the next step what we have to do is we have to check for the minimum area of steel reinforcement to be provided, whether the area of steels what we have got here, okay, are they more than the minimum area of steel is what we have to check for. So now let us check for the minimum area of the steel reinforcement. Now what we have calculated the area of steels and the spacing for different sections for different bending moments, and all the ASTs and the spacings are written here. Now what we have to check for the minimum area of steel reinforcement to be provided for the slab. So we already know what is the formula for calculating the minimum area of steel reinforcement to be provided. So what is the formula? It is the minimum area of steel reinforcement to be provided is 0.12% of the gross area. So it is 0.12 divided by 100 into gross area. So gross area here it will be what? B into D. So B is as usual, it is 1000 mm into D is nothing but the overall depth of the slab. So the overall depth of the slab is 150 mm. So if you solve this, you get a value of 180 mm square. So this is the minimum area of steel reinforcement which has to be provided for the slab, which is 180 mm square. And you have to check for all these things. So minimum is 180. So at the center of the end span, it is 461 mm square. So it is more. Okay, hence it is okay. So at the middle of the intermediate span also it is more. At the support next to the end support also the area of steel is more than the minimum. And at the middle support also the area of steel is more than the minimum area of steel reinforcement. So hence it is okay. So now we have checked for the minimum area of steel reinforcement. Now next is what we have to check for the spacing of the reinforcement. So how will we check for the spacing of the reinforcement? The spacings what we are providing, those spacings, it should be the spacing what we are providing, it should not exceed either 3D or 300 mm, whichever is less. So first let us calculate 3D. 3D is 3 into the effective depth. The effective depth is 120 mm, which is 360 mm. And the other one is 300 mm. So out of these two, which one is less? The lesser one is 300 mm. So the spacing what we are providing, it should not exceed the 300 mm. So here what the spacings we have 170.36 mm, 219.38, and here it is 145.28, and here it is 160.2 mm, which are all less than 300 mm. That is the spacing what we are providing is not exceeding this value. So hence it is okay, and hence it is okay. So now what? We have calculated the area of the steel reinforcement, that is for the main reinforcement. Now what? We have to take the maximum AST, and for that we have to provide the area of the main reinforcement. That is, here if you observe, we have the positive bending moments as well as the negative bending moments. So the positive, for the positive bending moments, the area of steels being, these two are the area of steels for the positive bending moments, and these two are the area of steels for the negative bending moments. Is it or not? So here these two area of steels are what for the center of the support. So those are the area of steel. So in these two, what I am considering is, I am going to take the maximum area of steel, and I am going to provide the maximum area of the steel with this spacing. So here what we have to provide. So for all the diameter of the bars are 10 mm. So at the center of the supports, we are going to provide 10 mm diameter bars. At here I'll take, instead of 170, you can take 170 mm center to center spacing also. I'm going to take 160 mm center to center spacing. So here I am providing 10 mm dia bars at 160 mm center to center. With alternative bends. That is, alternately I am going to provide the cranked bars. So 10 mm dia bars at 160 mm center to center as the main reinforcement. As the main reinforcement. So here I have provided this. Now what? If we observe here, what is the maximum bending moment? The maximum bending moment is 21. It is a negative moment, which is 21.2 kilonewton meter. So at the maximum bending moment, what is the area of steel? What it is required? So the required area of steel is 540.6 mm square, and the spacing what we have got is 145.28 mm. Okay. Now, and at the middle support also we have a negative moment itself, that is minus 19.37 kilonewton meter, and the area of steel for this is 490 mm square, and the spacing here is 160.2 mm. So to take the negative bending moment, we have to provide extra reinforcement bars, that is the extra main reinforcement bars at the supports, because at the supports we have the negative bending moment. So at the supports what we have to do, we have to provide the extra reinforcement bars at the top to take the negative bending moment. That is, taking negative bending moment into consideration, we have to provide the extra bars at the as a main reinforcement at the top, that is at the top side of the slab. So for that what we will do is, first we will find out the AST provided, okay, for the end supports. Okay. Okay. So here what I am going to do is, I am going to provide the area of steel at the supports. So at the supports I will provide the area of steel. So provide the area of steel of same 10 mm dia bars at 160 mm at 320 mm center to center. plus 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm center to center. So at the supports what we are going to provide 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm center to center, as well as here also 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm center to center, and here also 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm center to center. So why 320 mm and why not 160 mm is, so here when we are providing the bars, for suppose we have provided the cranked bars like this, okay. So like this if the bars are provided. So the distance between two bars, the distance between the spacing between these two bars will be 160 mm center to center, and this, between these two will be 160 mm center to center. Now here he has mentioned that between these two bars the distance will be 320 mm. So for that reason the area of steel at the support they are providing as 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm center to center, and 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm to center. If there is another bar here, okay, for suppose there is some bar like this here, a cranked bar. So what will be the distance between these two? The distance between these two will be 320 mm. So this one is what it is written here. That is at the supports we are going to provide 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm center to center plus 10 mm dia bars at 320 mm center to center. Now what? As we have a negative moment, we have to provide the extra reinforcement at the top. That is at the supports we have to provide the extra reinforcement. Now let us calculate the extra reinforcement what we have to provide. Now let us calculate the extra steel reinforcement required for negative bending moment. For negative bending moment, what is the extra? What extra steel required is what we have to calculate now. So how? So these are the two area of steels for the supports. That is at the supports these are the two area of steels, and this is our area of steel for the maximum bending moment which is required. So first what we will do is let us but what we have provided here. So first let us calculate the area of steel to be provided. So how will calculate the area of steel provided? For suppose I am providing 10 mm dia bars at 140 mm spacing. If the spacing is 140 mm. So for this one, for the maximum bending moment. Okay. So this is our required AST for carrying that. So let us calculate the AST. So how much will be spacing? S will be L into small AST divided by capital AST. So what will be capital AST? Capital AST will be L into small AST divided by S. So L will be here 1000 into small AST will be, what will be the small AST? Pi into D square by 4. So D here let us I am providing 8 mm dia bars. So provide 8 mm bars, dia bars. So divided by S. S is nothing but the spacing which is 140 mm. So from this what you will get an AST. So if you solve this, you will get a value of AST as 560 mm square. This is going to be what? This is going to be our AST which is provided. So AST which is provided, these two supports, that is 560 mm, and at this support the AST is 490 mm square. So what is the extra steel what we have to provide at the supports? The extra steel which has to be provided at the supports will be 560 minus 490 mm square. So then we will get the extra steel reinforcement. So which is how much? Which is 70 mm square. So 70 mm square is the area of steel what you have to provide at the top of the slab as an extra reinforcement for negative bending moment, which is 70 mm square. So let us calculate the spacing. S is equal to L into small AST divided by capital AST. So here let us provide 8 mm bars. So if we provide 8 mm bars, L is 1000 into AST. AST is 5 into 8 whole square divided by 4 whole divided by capital AST. Here it is how much? 70. So from this you will get a spacing of some 719 mm. So what the area of steel what you have to provide is 70 mm square and the spacing is 719 mm. So here what I am providing 8 mm dia bars at 700 center to center at the top at the supports. So only at the supports we are going only at the supports. These supports we are going to provide the top reinforcement. The dia of the bars being 8 mm and the spacing of the bars are being 700 mm center to center at the top, that is at the support. So how will calculate the AST provided? So S is equal to L into small AST divided by capital AST. So from this we can calculate AST. How AST is equal to L into small AST divided by S. S is the spacing. So L is how much? L is 1000 into AST. AST is the area of the one bar. That is pi into D. D here is how much? It is 10 whole square divided by 4. Whole divided by S. S the spacing is 140 mm. So from this what we will get the AST provided. So the AST provided is 560 mm square. So the area provided is 560 mm square. Now this is the required area and this is the provided area which is 560 mm square. Now what we have to calculate the extra steel reinforcement for the negative bending moment. Now what we have calculated the main reinforcement required. Now let us find out the area of steel required for the distribution steel. So area of reinforcement for what? For it is for the distribution steel, or you can also call it as distribution bars. So how we will calculate? The formula is 0.12% of the gross area. So 0.12 divided by 100 into B into D. So B here is 1000 and D will be the overall depth of the slab which is 150 mm. So if you solve this, you will get a value of 180 mm square. So what is the area of the distribution steel you have to provide? It is 180 mm square. square. That is the AST here is 180 mm square. So after calculating the AST, what we have to do? We have to calculate the spacing. So we will calculate the spacing. S is equal to L into AST divided by capital AST. This is small AST and this is going to be our capital AST. So L is 1000 into AST. AST is area of 1 bar. So here I am providing 8 mm dia bars as distribution steel. So pi into 8 whole square divided by 4 because why provide 8 mm dia bars as distribution steel. So the small AST divided by the capital AST. What is the capital AST here we got? It is 180 mm square. So from this we will get a value of spacing as 279.25 mm. So this is what you are going to get the spacing. So after we got the spacing, what we have to do? We have to check for the spacing. So as per IS 456-2000, the spacing what we are providing. Okay, as for the distribution steel, it should not be more than 5D or 450 mm, whichever is less. So let us calculate first 5D. 5D is 5 into D, that is the effective depth, which is 120 mm, which will give you 600 mm, and the other value is 450 mm. Out of these two, which one is the least value? The least value is being 450 mm. So the spacing what we are providing is how much? 270. What we got is required spacing is 279.25 mm, which is less than 450 mm. Hence it is okay. So what we have to do? As a distribution steel, we have to provide 8 mm dia bars at this one. I am providing 270 mm center to center. So the spacing being 270 mm center to center, and we are providing the dia of the bars as 8 mm for the distribution steel. Now what? Now we have calculated the area of steel which is required for the main reinforcement as well as the distribution steel. We have provided everything. Now what we have to do? We have to check for the shear, check for the deflection as well as the check for the development length has to be done. So first, in the next step, let us do the check for shear. So why we have to check? Because if the checks are not satisfied, the whole design will go wrong. So you have to redesign right from the starting. So all the checks has to be satisfied. So the first one is check for the shear. So you have already done how to check for the shear. So what is the first step what we have to do? We have to calculate the nominal shear stress. So the nominal shear stress tau B will be, the formula is VU by BD. So VU here is nothing but the shear force. So here we are going to consider the maximum shear force. So if you see what is the maximum shear force here, 30.87 kilonewtons is going to be the maximum shear force. So VU is 30.87 kilonewton. So I am converting it into newtons. So 10 cube divided by B. B is nothing but for 1 meter width of the slab I am considering. So B will be 1000 into D is the effective depth, which is 120 mm. So if you solve this, you will get a value of 0.26 Newton per mm square. So the nominal shear stress tau B value is how much? It is 0.26 Newton per mm square. So what is the next step what we have to do? We have to calculate the tau C. Tau C is nothing but the shear strength of the concrete. The shear strength of concrete. So how we calculate tau C? Tau C can be calculated from table 19 of IS 456-2000. So in that first what we have to know? We have to calculate the percentage of steel, that is PT. So how we calculate the percentage of steel, that is 100 into AST by BD. So here AST will be what? The AST which you have provided for the maximum bending moment. So previously we have already calculated the AST provided for the maximum bending moment. So what is that AST? It is 560 mm square. So 100 into 560 divided by B. B will be 1000 and D will be 120. So if you solve this, you get a value of 0.46 percentage. The percentage of steel is how much it is? 0.46. So for the percentage of steel, for the grade of concrete, you are going to have the tau C value. So what for 0.46% for M20 grade of concrete, we have to find out the tau C value. If the same percentage of steel is not available, then to know the tau C value, we have to take the values which are above, the percentage of steel values which are above and below 0.46, and from that we have, by interpolating, we have to calculate the tau C value. So here after interpolating the tau C value, I got it as, for the grade M20 grade of concrete, as tau C is equal to 0.46. So the tau C value I have got it here as 0.46. Now what we have to, the next step is we have to calculate the tau C max. Sorry. So we got tau C as 0.46. That is for what? The tau C value is for the beams. Now for slabs, what? For slabs, the tau C value will be, the tau C value will be some constant into the tau C of the beam. So this constant how we will take in IS 456-2000, we had table. From that table we are going to take this constant value Ks. So what is the depth of the slab here? The depth of the slab is 150 mm. So for the depth of the slab which is less than equal to 150 mm, the Ks value given on that particular table is 1.3. So the tau C value will be 1.3 into tau C. Tau C of the beam, which is 0.46, which will give you 0.59 Newton per mm square. So this is also the units of Newton per mm square. So what is the tau C value? The tau C value is 0.59 Newton per mm square for the slab. So what is the next step we have to do? We have to calculate tau C max. So the tau C max value for M20 grade of concrete is 2.8 Newton per mm square. But for slabs we are going to consider half of this. So 2.8 divided by 2 will give you 1.4 Newton per mm square. Now what we have to compare all the three values, tau B, tau C and tau C max. So if you observe here, what you can see, tau B is 0.26 and tau C is 0.59. That is tau B is less than tau C and tau B is less than tau C max also. So if tau B is less than tau C and tau is less than tau C max, then there is no need of providing the shear reinforcement. That is, the slab is safe in shear. So no need to provide shear reinforcement and the slab is safe in shear. So the check for shear is done. So what is the next step? The next step is to check for deflection. So the next step is to check for deflection, that is to check for control of deflection. So the step 8 is check for control of deflection. Now what? 456 2000. The basic span to depth ratio for a continuous slab is how much it is? 26. So this is the basic span to depth ratio which is given in the code. Now, what will be the span to depth ratio max? The maximum value will be some modification factor into 26. So, from where this, where we will get this modification factor? The modification factor can be taken from figure 4 of IS 456 2000, which I have already discussed previously. So, in the figure 4 how will take the modification factor? The modification factor will be in the y-axis, and on the x-axis we are going to have the percentage of steel. So, and based on the curves for different stress levels, we have to calculate the modification factor for different percentages of steel. So first what we will do is we will calculate the percentage of steel. So how will calculate the percentage of steel PT? It is 100 into AST by BD. Previously only we have calculated. So 100 into AST is the area of steel which is provided for the maximum bending moment, which we got it as 560 mm square, divided by B will be for 1 meter width, that is 1000 mm, into D here is the effective depth, which is 120 mm. So if you solve this, you will get a value of 0.46%. That is the percentage of steel is 0.46%. So for the percentage of steel of 0.46, and for the stress level, now what we have to calculate? We have to calculate the Fs. So how will calculate the Fs? Fs can be calculated by using the formula which is given below the figure 4 itself, which is 0.58 into Fy into the AST required divided by the AST provided. So what is the AST required? We have got the AST required for the maximum bending moment as 540 mm square, and the AST what we have provided is 460 mm square. So the AST required will be 540 mm square, and the AST provided will be 560 mm square. So substitute all the values here. So it is 0.58 into 415 into AST required. AST required is 540 mm square divided by AST provided will be 560 mm square. So if you solve this, you will get a value of Fs as 232 Newton per mm square. So what in figure 4, if you take the figure 4, here you will have the PT values and here you will have the modification factor values, that is these values we will have. So we will have different curves like this. Here will be the stresses, different stress values. So here the curve might be for the stress 190 Newton per mm square. This curve might be for 240 Newton per mm square. Like that, for different curves you will have different values, and for different percentages you have to find out the modification factors. So which we have discussed already in the previous problems. Now in the similar way, what we have to do, for 232 Newton per mm square we have to calculate the modification factor. So the curve is not available for 230 Newton per mm square. So what you have to do, that 232 Newton per mm square lies in between these two. So you have to take these two curves for the percentage of steel of 0.46. For these two curves you have to find the modification factor and you have to interpolate, and you have to calculate the modification factor for a stress level of 232 Newton per mm square. The same, how to do all this procedure we have already discussed in the previous problem. Repeat the same procedure here, how to do the interpolation and all. From that we are going to get the modification factor. So if you do that, we will get a modification factor as 1.35. So here the modification factor is how much? The modification factor is 1.35. I am denoting the modification factor as KT. It is 1.35. Now let me calculate the span to depth ratio maximum. By substituting the value of modification factor as 1.35 in this particular place. So, if you substitute there, L by D max will be 1.35 into 26. That is, you will get a value of 35.1. So, that is the ratio of length to depth. The ratio of span to depth, the maximum value is how much? 35.1. That is the ratio. Now, how much did we provide? So, let us calculate the L by D provided. So, how much did we provided? L is the effective span. So, in the beginning of the sum, we have already calculated the effective span. How much is the effective span? It is 3.92 meters. So, it is 3920 mm divided by D. D is here nothing but the effective depth. So, effective depth is being 120 mm. So, if you solve this, you will get a value of 32.6. So, the provided value is less than the maximum value. So, hence it is safe. So, the L by D provided is less than the L by D max value. Hence, it is safe in deflection, in control of deflection. Hence, it is okay. So, now the check for shear is done, and as well as the check for control of deflection is also satisfied. So, the design of the beam is satisfied. Now, let us draw the reinforcement details what we have provided for the one-way continuous slab in the diagram. Now, here in this continuous one-way slab, the reinforcement details are shown here. So, if you see, the main reinforcement is this bar. So, this is our main reinforcement provided, which is 10 mm dia at 160 mm center to center. Okay. So, on back of this also we are going to have the bars, and these are our distribution bars. The distribution bars are being 8 mm in diameter, and the spacing between the distribution bars is 270 mm center to center. And here at the top we have the extra reinforcement provided, okay, as well as the main reinforcement. So that is the reason why here it is written 10 dia bars at 160 mm center to center, and the extra reinforcement provided here, which is 8 dia bars at 700 mm center to center. So still we have the continuous beam. So only some part of the still we have the continuous slab. Only some part of the slab is taken, and the reinforcement details are shown here. So these are the bent up bars. These are the bent up bars. So like this we will get. So this will be a 1 bar. Okay. Okay. Like this we will get the bars. So these are our bent up bars. So these are the reinforcement details for the continuous one-way slab. Thank you.